Let's bring in Jonathan Schanzer. He's the executive director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, thanks for coming in again. Let's start with this Board of Peace first. What do you think of its launch here, and can it do some good in Gaza?
Well, it can, and I think we're already seeing the good that it's doing. They've raised $7 billion from some of the participating countries. Trump has contributed another $10 billion from the United States. It's a good start, although we're hearing now that it could be as much as $70 billion needed to reconstruct Gaza in a fulsome way. But in the meantime, we have, I think, 7 or 8 different countries that have joined this international stabilization force. All of this is, I think, a really positive sign. It's a direct shot at Hamas. Of course, they don't want to disarm. They're not willing to walk away. But what we're hearing right now is that the international community, led by Donald Trump, is speaking in one voice. They're going to need to step aside. And I think the pressure is building, especially if we start to see the regime in Iran, start to wobble or even get taken down. That will be one more blow for Hamas. You get a sense that Donald Trump is trying to just remake the region. And I think we're off to a decent start.
All right. I want to take up Iran quickly here, but just on disarming Hamas, who's going to do it? That's the key issue. If Hamas doesn't voluntarily give up its weapons, who does it?
Right. And they will not voluntarily do so. It's highly unlikely unless the Qataris and the Turks, who are part of this Board of Peace, unless they truly lean on their client. They have been sponsoring Hamas for years now. I think they're the key, and they're in the Board of Peace. If that does not happen, the president has actually given Hamas 60 days. I guess it's now 58 as of this recording. And what that means actually is that the Israelis would go in and dismantle Hamas. They would be given the green light by Trump, by the Board of Peace, knowing that no one else will do it. And then that stabilization force comes in and hopefully maintain some stability in Gaza.
All right, let's turn to Iran. The president sending an enormous armada to the region that could potentially be used for military force. But what does the president want from Iran when he talks about they must make a deal? What are his terms?
So I think at the most basic level, it's no more nukes, which is sort of a moot point because the nuke program has been pretty well destroyed. Not completely, but it's going to take years to rebuild it. But I think some of the other demands may be more important right now when we look at the broader region. The idea of the missiles that Iran maintains, these ballistic missiles, they need to be destroyed. There are thousands of them. We saw some of the damage that these missiles can deliver, right? During the June war last year with Israel, they're shearing off sides of buildings. That needs to be brought to a complete and abrupt halt. On top of that, the sponsorship of proxies, so not just Hamas, but Hezbollah, the Houthis, Shia militias in Iraq, they need to be dismantled. And then I think there's one more that's really important when we think about what happens next in Iran itself, and that is the human rights challenges that we see there. 30,000 plus people killed in less than a month by this regime. The president's not letting that go. And I think that's a really important message for the rest of the region.
Well, but when I hear the president talk about this, he has focused on nuclear and missiles. He's not talking about regime change, which, of course, is the goal of the protesters in the streets that he said he would come to the rescue of. So, I mean, if you do military action, can he limit it to just those military priorities and nuclear priorities? Or are we talking about something more expansive that would hit at the heart of the regime's military and domestic control?
Well, Paul, I think you're asking the question that everyone is asking right now. And, the president continues to hint at the options that he has on the table. Some people are saying that he's considering a limited strike. Some people are saying that, Iran has 10 days, and if they don't comply fully with all of the demands, then we could be seeing a more expansive strike, some kind of, very large operation that would bring down the regime. I don't know if we know the answers to all of those questions right now. I think they will be answered in due course. What I would say, though, is the president seems, and I think we saw this at the Board of Peace, this is consistent messaging. I think he wants to solve this long term for the region. We all know that the regime in Iran has been destabilizing the Middle East now since 1979, and it is poison for the Middle East. If we're ever going to start afresh, if we're ever going to rebuild the Middle East in a way that is sustainable, this regime cannot stand. And I think that's what we're testing right now. There's a stress test going on as we speak about what the president's going to put up with and what the rest of the region is maybe whispering in his ear.
All right. Enormous potential consequences here. Jonathan Schanzer, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.